This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and by popular request, we have a smackdown between two of my favorite 13-inch laptops. You can call them Ultrabooks, even though technically Apple doesn't go with the Ultrabook name. That's an Intel thing. We have the 13-inch Retina MacBook Pro here, latest version, and we have the HP Spectre x360, one of the coolest new Windows Ultrabooks. It's also a 2-in-1 convertible. We're going to compare them, and you're going to see the difference besides the operating system is whether you want the traditional laptop or you want the convertible design and the pen. We're going to compare them now. Well, here it is, the battle between two really excellent machines, and I would be happy to own either of these. Right here we have the HP Spectre x360, the new kid on the block, just came out a couple of months ago, been one of our more popular reviews. It's been a very popular machine so far. Seems like people who buy them are pretty satisfied with them, don't have many complaints. And here we have the 13-inch MacBook Pro with Retina display, also latest generation, another machine that few seem to ever have complaints about. Both reliable machines, both built very well. One nice thing about the Spectre compared to a lot of other Windows laptops is it looks every bit as nice, doesn't it? Fit and finish, the materials, the lines on it. A lot of Windows Ultrabooks we get in, they look really nice. And then you put them against a Mac, and I have to admit that sometimes they don't look quite as polished. In this case, boy, does the Spectre look equally as polished. In fact, literally, we have polished stainless steel on the sides over here for a little bit of, two-tone kind of thing going on. Both of these guys are about the same size. They both have 13.3-inch displays. They're similar in weight as well. The Spectre is a little bit lighter, but pretty much the same thing. As thickness, you can see this one tapers a little bit more dramatically to the front. It's just the look of it. They're playing the Apple game there where the edge tapers a lot, but it gets thicker towards the bottom, which is why if you put them like so, skinny as it might look, you see, there's the same height right there. Both of these are available with Core i5 and i7 CPUs. Here's the first important difference between these two, though. As ever with the Retina 13-inch model, you get the 28-watt CPU, which is more powerful than the Ultrabook ULV CPU, 15-watt that's used in the Spectre models. So for those of you who have maximal computing needs, you're going to get a little bit more out of the Mac. It's not like using a quad-core i7 in a gaming laptop or something like that. It's not that big a difference. Benchmarks, you're talking about, 10, 12% difference depending on the benchmark. So it's not earth-shattering, but it is there. This also has Intel HD 6100 graphics versus HD 5500 graphics. So that's part of the difference in the horsepower and the oomph there. Beyond that, one important thing, for those of you who have interest in using a digital pen with palm rejection and pressure sensitivity, this is the optional pen for the Spectre x360. If you buy an x360, it's going to be compatible with HP's pen or Dell's pen, also the Dell Venue pen, which happens to be the model I have in my hand right now. You've got the ability to use this as a pen. And that gets into the next important point. The Mac is a laptop. It opens up just like a laptop should. That's as far back as it goes. That's what it does. It does not have a touchscreen. Apple loves touchscreens, but only on iPads and iPhones, not on laptops. The Spectre is a convertible, a 2-in-1. There's a whole lot of different things we can call these things. A hybrid. You can use it like a laptop. Perfectly normal keyboard and trackpad. Actually, very oversized trackpad, but relatively speaking, it's normal. It doesn't just do that. It does this. It does that. It does tent mode. Yes, it disables the keyboard in tent mode. Sorry, LaVZ from Lenovo, which seems to be lacking that feature. You can close it completely and use it as a tablet as well. So the versatility there, that's why the pen and the touchscreen particularly make sense here. Aha, you can take notes with this guy. Touchscreen as a tablet makes sense, or even if you're using it in, well, this position here, which you can call presentation mode. I call it sitting back and watching Netflix mode, but it's also great for web browsing and for taking some notes like so. So the important difference right there, which do you need? Do you just want a standard laptop with a keyboard, no touch screen? Then the MacBook Pro with Retina display is going to work for you. If you want the versatility of the convertible, it's going to be the Spectre x360. Now, opening them up, here's what you see. Well, one comes with really cute cat, the other one doesn't. No, just kidding. Both have really lovely displays here. For this model we're looking at on the Spectre, this is the 1920 by 1080 display model, which I find is actually quite good because, well, Windows programs don't handle scaling real well. Maybe with Windows 10, and I'm still on the fence about that as I'm playing with the betas of it, but 1920 by 1080 allows you to use it, including the desktop, without having to use any kind of scaling, so everything can be quite sharp, at least if you have pretty good eyes, nice and sharp. There is a 2560 by 1440 option for the HP as well. Now with the Mac, standard Retina display, of course, 2560 by 1600. 1600, the number is a little bit bigger because of difference in aspect ratio. Apple always goes with a slightly taller display versus the 16 by 9 widescreen on Windows. Both of these are really stunning displays that cover almost all of the sRGB color spectrum. They both have pretty good calibration out of the box. The Mac has better out-of-the-box calibration. Both of these can be calibrated with something called a colorimeter, which is a little piece of hardware that plugs in the USB port. I know because you guys are always asking, so I'm going to tell you about that. Spider makes them, the Datacolor Spider. The X-Rite is another popular one for those of you who want to do that. Anyway, a little bit better calibration on the box, certainly from Apple. In terms of color gamut and representation, both of these are on equal footing. Both of these have glossy displays. Again, with the HP, you have a touchscreen right here that works with the pen. With the Mac, it is just a passive screen. You don't touch it. It won't do nothing if you touch it. Nothing will happen. Nothing at all. Keyboards. Both of these are very good keyboards. Apple keyboards are some of the best on their portables. I have no complaints about this. The backlighting, even nice and gentle on it. They have a similar amount of key travel, which is how much the keys actually move when you poke them. They both have nice key damping on them. The one good thing about the Mac is that it is a black keyboard with white backlighting, even though it might not look as cool and monotone silver as the Spectre does. Well, that makes for easy contrast to see. Now, our Spectre x360 has silver keys with a fairly dark lettering on them. You can see them pretty well, but there's a kind of twilight gray zone there where it can be a little hard to see with backlighting on. Actually, you're better off turning it off, surprisingly. If it's a fairly dark room, you're going to want to turn it on, and that's the on-off button with the blindingly bright little LED right there. So I would say that functionally speaking, the Mac's backlighting is a little bit better for all lighting scenarios. The Spectre isn't bad. It's just that in dim lighting, you might find you actually do better with the backlighting off rather than on. And then it works fine. You can see it. Hopefully you all are touch typists anyway, so you're doing it mostly by touch. Trackpad. You know how it goes with Apple products. It's always excellent experience. Fluid, smooth. Under Mac OS X. Now, if you're running Windows on it, the drivers are not all that. They're not as good. So you're not going to get the super duper wonderful, I'm using Mac OS X with a Mac trackpad experience. It's going to be okay, not fantastic. Which is why I always recommend, if you want the best of everything, battery life, trackpad drivers, display drivers, all that sort of stuff, stick to using Mac OS on a MacBook. It's designed for that, and you'll get the better drivers that way under OS X. HP has this super duper oversized long trackpad. I really can't tell you why. I don't know. It works. It's responsive. It's fluid. There's certainly plenty of room for multi-touch gestures on there. But other than that, happily palm rejection has been good for me, so I really don't have much of a problem with my palm hitting the extra large trackpad. But I do tend to type up like this, which is better for your wrists too, so I don't actually rest my hand on the trackpad that much. Both of these obviously have good viewing angles or IPS displays. We have them very off angle to the camera right now, and you can still see the screens other than the usual glare from the glossiness. So how about price? I like the HP Spectre x360 1149 model the best. That one has a lot of bang for the buck. You get 8 gigs of RAM, a 256 gig SSD, the 1080p touchscreen with pen support, and a Core i7 dual core there. Not bad. The Mac, my personal pick would be the $1,500 mid-level model. It does start at $1,300. For $1,500 you get the 8 gigs of RAM, the 256 gig SSD. Again, the $1,300 model, well, you're getting 128 gig SSD with that one. Both of these RAM is permanently installed, so you got to order it with what you want inside. So how about ports? Well, both of these have a good selection of ports on board. That's a lot of ventilation right there. There's our headphone jack. That's the power button on the side in case you're using it in tablet mode. That's why they put them on the side. USB 3.0 port there. Full-size SD card slot. The card goes all the way in. On the other side, more silvery goodness here. Mini display port. We like to see that. You don't see that every day on a Windows laptop. full-size HDMI, 2 more USB 3.0 ports, so you got 3 USB ports. Oops, by the way, that's the headphone jack. The other side was the charging jack. And for our Mac, pretty decent as well. Different though, because Macs have Thunderbolts, so we're going to have Thunderbolt ports on this that double as DisplayPort, mini DisplayPort. SD card slot right there. Card sticks out about halfway. Full-size HDMI, USB 3.0 port. 1 more USB 3.0 port for a total of 2. But we get 2 Thunderbolt / mini display ports on here. That's the MagSafe charging connector. And there's our headphone jack on that. So both have a very good selection of ports there. Both of these have batteries that are sealed inside. Nominally, Macs are pretty famously not the easiest to service anymore. Some things are glued in and all that sort of thing, but a bunch of pentalobe screws here. If you want to take off the bottom cover and try to service the battery yourself, I think most people would probably just take it to Apple if you ever needed to replace the battery. The HP, bunch of little Torx screws right there. Pretty easy actually to take the battery out. Also, you have access to the SSD drive in here. Macs, by the way, use faster PCIe SSD storage connector compared to the HP. Both of these are pretty fast. People who get hung up on specs really care about that. I mean, can you tell whether your SSD supports 600 megabit write or 700 or 900? Probably not, unless you copy stuff all day long. Given how small the SSDs are in these guys relative to your multi-terabyte external storage options, I don't think a lot of people are doing a lot of transfer, but keep it in mind that the Mac does have faster SSD connector type. And just for one more little size comparison, and we're not really going to be doing a smackdown between the Spectre and this guy because it's in such a different class, but this is the 12-inch MacBook. Teeny little fellow right there, but Core M processor, not really as much about the horsepower, performance, convertible, all that sort of thing. This is meant to be your most ultra-portable little buddy notebook ever. All right, how about speaker volume? Let's bring up our review of the LG G4, a lovely new smartphone, and we'll play a YouTube video so you can hear it. We're at 50% volume right now on the Mac itself.
And this is our full LG G4 review. We did a very in-depth first look review, and now we're ready with value.
Not too loud, but pretty full.
Lots of testings, taking benchmarks, and we've got 2 versions here. We have the international Korean model
and that's maximum volume. So let's do the same thing with the same thing on the Spectre.
This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is our full LG G4
Pretty
review.
close.
We did a very in-depth first look review, and now we're ready with value judgments after lots of testings, taking benchmarks, and we've got 2 versions here. We have the international and Korean model.
You know, the Spectre has one of the nicest set of speakers I've heard in a Windows Ultrabook that's 13 inches in a long time, but the 13-inch MacBook Pro with Retina display also has some excellent speakers there, so it's a pretty close call in terms of both volume and fullness. All right, the big final point, build quality on these both. Like I said, excellent, beautiful, a little bit easier to repair, certainly the HP Spectre x360, but other than that, how about battery life? Macs are famous for their really long battery life. The Spectre is actually one of the longer-lived models in terms of battery life. This guy averages me, and this is actually my personal unit, it does 8 to 9 hours on a charge. That's 40% brightness, Wi-Fi on and active. So among Windows Ultrabooks, I call 9 hours pretty darn good. The Mac, for me, and this is my work machine, personal work machine, this guy averages 10 to 11 hours. So you're getting 1 to 2 hours more. So you're talking 9 hours versus 11 hours for better run times on both of these. That would be a 2-hour split. Depends on your brightness, what you're doing, all that sort of thing. In terms of built-in internals, they both have dual-band Wi-Fi 802.11ac and Bluetooth 4.0. So you got the same built-in connectivity there. So there you have it. 2 laptops that I think anybody would be happy to own. Maybe now you have an idea, I hope, as to which one is more suited to you. Obviously, the Mac is a laptop only, not first and foremost, only. It does not have a touchscreen, it does not flip, it does not bend, it does not do any kind of gymnastics, whereas our Spectre x360 does the yoga thing. And like I mentioned, there's the optional pen. You can either use HP's, which HP would love, or you could use Dell's, which I actually prefer, the Venue pen. And you can actually write and draw with pressure sensitivity on it. So that makes it a very versatile machine. If that appeals to you, if you're using it in the tent mode, the tablet mode, any of these in-between modes is something that you like, well then the Spectre would be the one that wins. So there you have it. It's another one of those Smackdowns where there's no clear winner because the two of these are really best of the best. It's about what's best for you. Speaking of best, do you want the convertible design? Do you want Windows? Do you need the pen input? Or do you want a traditional laptop, really beautiful build design? You're happy with OS X, which is a perfectly fine operating system. You like the ease of the Retina display where you don't have to worry about how Windows handles DPI because, well, macOS does a good job. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to watch our video reviews of each of these products, read our full written reviews on mobiletechreview.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.